Know the difference with Annex Wealth Management? Ryan Van Blarkum is a wealth manager at Annex Wealth Management. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Danny. Thanks for having me.
1/3 of adults under 30 regularly scroll TikTok for news. That's a 255% increase since 2020. The TikTok increase is taking place across all age demographics, though not just younger Americans. In fact, recent Forbes Advisor survey found 79% of members from millennial and Gen Z generations have gotten financial advice from social media. Apologize up front, Ryan. I chose you for this segment because I assumed you were a TikTok user. You are not.
I am not. And it's funny because when I hear that, it brings me back to when my siblings and I were kids. My dad would sarcastically say, you should believe everything you read on the internet. Well, now, years later, we as a society have really adopted the digital platform as our main source to get all those forums and news updates and things like that. To your question, though, I disagree with that. What's the old saying, if everyone else jumped off a bridge, would you? Now, I'm not implying that investing in stocks or bonds is like jumping off a bridge. However, I believe that same principle applies here. When you are investing, it's important to understand a few things. What's your time horizon? How long until you need those funds? Is it 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? This is a major component for how you should have your funds allocated, if even invested at all. Next would be, what's your risk tolerance versus risk capacities? Essentially, what are you comfortable with versus what makes the most sense? Not everyone has the same attitude towards risk, and it's another reason why no one should immediately assume those investments are right for them. And then finally, what are your liquidity needs? Do you have ample emergency funds that would be 3 to 6 months of non-discretionary money? That's important because what if you get sick? What if you lost your job? Are you able to pay for basic necessities? When you start to ask these questions, you start to poke holes in that line of thinking, showing that not every investment is a perfect match for each individual.
So I got a list of various investing and financial planning advice that comes from social media. Curious to see what you think based on your training, your experience. First advice somebody might see on TikTok or some other form of social media: invest in the same stocks as the rich and famous.
Yeah, the biggest takeaway when looking to mimic the past is that past performance does not guarantee future results, period. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Even if historically the investments that John Doe, for example, had picked did very well, that does not mean those same companies will meet the same expectations moving forward. I was actually reading an article that said the average TikTok video was roughly 38 seconds. Now imagine you have, whether it's your retirement funds, fund money, or just some other form of discretionary money, to make investment altering decisions based off a 38-second video, to me personally, does not seem like a good idea. I would highly encourage others to do their own research outside of TikTok or work with a financial professional such as Annex.
Ryan Van Blarkum is a wealth manager at Annex Wealth Management. Wiser than most, he stays off TikTok. We're talking about the increase in people using social media for investment and retirement planning advice. Another thing you're going to run across on social media is the way to, quote, get rich quick.
This one especially concerns me because, quite honestly, you see these kinds of schemes all over the place. I'm sure we've all seen the ads for, if you take this pill, you'll lose 5 pounds in a week. That sounds great, but it's not always the case. I may not have TikTok, but I am familiar with it to understand that videos like this like to oversimplify the value of hard work and perseverance. Building wealth is all about doing the little things time and time again. It's taking that 1% of your raise each year and using it to increase your 401k contributions, or understanding wants versus needs when we're shopping online. Where this becomes so difficult, and why I feel people tend to fall victim to these get-rich-quick schemes so easily, is that spending money has never been more convenient than it is today. We've all been there. You're on Amazon, you just bought something for 20 or 30 bucks, and you say to yourself, did I really need that? Was that a want or need? You develop buyer's remorse. Where this ties together is that when we get in the habit of spending money on miscellaneous items, we feel like we're strapped for cash and then turn to those get-rich-quick schemes, as you mentioned, in hopes of getting out of that vicious spending cycle. Moral of the story, do the little things. And when you see some lucrative investments, we all like to remind people is, if it seems too good to be true, then it probably is.
There's a couple more. They're incredibly unrealistic. I'll just rattle them off. If you start an S corporation, you don't have to pay taxes. The Federal Reserve has a secret $1 million bank account for every American citizen. Anyone can teach themselves how to day trade and be successful at it. Buying into newer cryptocurrencies early will make you rich. This is the kind of stuff that you, maybe as a parent or a grandparent, have to combat because the younger generation is kind of falling for this. In fact, I just saw this thing. One of the TikTok latest trends is the silent depression. And they want to explain why Americans feel so bad about financial standing, even though we're in pretty good shape. Housing, transportation, food, increasing share of Americans' take-home pay. But economists say that doesn't make any sense at all. So, Ryan, our bottom line advice from social media, what are you saying?
Bottom line, I would say perform your due diligence. Take the time to gather information from multiple sources, not just TikTok. Truly understand the kind of investments you're getting yourself into and the potential ramifications of them. Next would be credible sources. Any person can put a video on TikTok talking about the investment market and say they're a money expert or budget specialist. Speak with a fee-only fiduciary like Annex who deals with these kinds of things every single day. And then finally, do the little things consistently. Try to increase your 401k contributions annually. Max that Roth IRA or build up that emergency fund. There are no shortcuts when it comes to success.
Ryan Van Blarkum, Wealth Manager at Annex Wealth Management. Thanks.
Thanks for having me, Danny.